Hey guys, welcome to our Hawkeye episode 1 and 2 live stream spoiler review. So sorry, I don't know what was going on with StreamYard. It just kept spinning, so I figured definitely wasn't my internet. I did a test, so I think it's something to do with the server. So I apologize. But yeah, I am here, and we're going to talk about this wonderfulness and kind of questionable. I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence on what I actually think about Hawkeye right now. It's definitely different from the Kate Bishop that I know in the comics. Haley Steinfeld's doing a really good job portraying Kate. It's just that I'm used to Kate being, I mean, she talks to herself, but she's not as goofy as Haley. For me, if you really think about this, she actually reminds me more of Emily, in her show than she does of Kate, if that makes sense. But I'm gonna put all that aside. Haley's not a bad choice for Kate Bishop. It's just taking some getting used to. There's a lot of controversy around her casting initially because a lot of people feel that she is Eurasian, so she's half Asian. And in MCU, she is cast as completely white because both of her parents are white. And I think it was very ironic that they gave Haley such a hard time about being cast as her and not being Asian enough. But yet both of her parents are actually white in the MCU. Now, to be clear, I've said this, the MCU, if she is mixed, and the only time I ever remember Kate Bishop in the comics being even a little bit Eurasian is in West Coast Avengers when her mother was a vampire. And then she was revealed to be, Asian. They've never really gone in depth on Kate Bishop's ethnicity. So I don't know if she's Eurasian or not, but I will say if she is, it does not shock me that the MCU would whitewash her in a way because they did that with Shang-Chi in a way. They made him completely, it's the reverse. They actually made him fully Asian when originally in the comics before it was retconned, he was actually Eurasian. So MCU doesn't care about mixed people. It's just what it is. I'm used to it. All right. So the premise of Hawkeye takes place 6 days before Christmas. So we have Clint in town with his kids because he's bonding with his children in New York while the mother is back home. Now, I don't know if he was going there specifically to see what I have. It's called Rogers, but I've called it Rent or Avengers Rent the musical. It was effing hilarious. That entire freaking thing was effing hilarious. I don't know why it's called Rogers and it's not called, or why it's called Rogers and not called Iron Man since he's the one that died. But whatever. But like literally watching Clint sit in the audience, watching these people break into song as Avengers is absolutely effing hilarious. And there's a lot of references to the first movie. Now I will say Clint gets in his feelings a lot in the first couple of episodes. There's a lot of Nat guilt, which I know they're playing up because we do know that Yelena is going to be coming to probably try to kill him after what happened at the end of Black Widow. So it's a thing. So they're playing that up, but there's a lot of homage to like a lot of tribute really to Black Widow, like the catch and release, him seeing basically a girl pretending to be her on stage breaking into song. I mean, he's definitely still mourning the loss of Nat. So good to see that they didn't just brush that off. It just actually happens. Now, obviously all of this is post Endgame, because I know the snap has happened. I thought it was interesting when Clint went to the bathroom and on the sink, it said Thanos was right. And he was kind of like, and it's almost like he's saying, yeah, maybe half of humanity should go back away. That was really interesting that he didn't really look at that with like anger. He looked at it with this kind of like, probably, I don't know. It's just funny to me. Kate's backstory has definitely been retconned. So, and again, the comics do this too. So this is no real hate towards the MCU, but I mean, there's like drastic differences. Like for instance, Kate is not an only child. She has a sister named Susan. Susan is not a concept at all in this. Her father does not die in the comics. It's her mother that's presumed dead in the comics. And then in the comics, spoiler, she ends up being somebody else. I probably shouldn't say who it is because if you haven't followed the comic book, this is definitely spoiling the show. So I'm not going to tell you who she is supposed to be in the comics. But again, her mother has a different role in the comics. And so I do think that that's interesting. The stepdad, Jack, this is not even a concept. I mean, because her father ends up marrying a girl she went to high school with, and her name was like Heather or something like that. And like they're literally very close in age. And so that's been a problem for Kate. And her and her dad do not get along. And there's a point where he even cuts her off financially. Now we do see the mother cancels her credit cards, but she still has a job, at their security business. But in the comics, she's on her own. She becomes a PI. So there's a big difference there. Also, the motivation for Kate becoming, basically studying archery and martial arts in the MCU is she basically was a victim of the first Avenger movie, in the battle, her father ends up getting killed. She's saved later by Hawkeye before her mother takes her out of the building, and it kind of left an impression on her. So that's why she takes up the bow and arrow. But in the comics, she was actually assaulted in the park by these men, and it traumatized her. And so she vowed never to be weak again. So like, it's completely different. So I know that they are literally trying to make it more kid friendly, because Kate's origin story is a little darker than what they're doing in the MCU. So it's interesting. I guess they're trying to play it up because Haley's playing her very goofy. I mean, not saying that bad stuff is not going to happen. She's just is very goofy, and I like it. It's a separate Kate. This is another telling of Kate Bishop. Some other things I noticed in this episode. Pizza Dog, or Lucky the Pizza Dog. So if you know anything about that, Ivan, who is the Clint refers to, I think, as like the floor manager or something like that when he's being interrogated. The Pizza Dog is actually Ivan's dog, but in the MCU, the first time you see Pizza Dog or Lucky is when he's attacking one of them. And, basically grabbing his leg and shaking it. Now, I don't know if later on they're going to reveal that this is still Ivan's dog or not, but it's like there's no real connection to the Tracksuit Mafia and, Lucky the Pizza Dog. As a matter of fact, it's actually Clint who finds, Lucky, and not Kate. So Kate being the first one to come across, Lucky the Pizza Dog, and being the one to give him pizza, which is why she calls him Pizza Dog. That's all MCU invention. That did not happen in the comics. So like I said, there's a lot of differences between what happens in the comics and what happened in this. So yeah, there are aspects of this that are kind of slow for me. There are aspects that are kind of funny, like when Clint is trying to get the suit. So basically, Kate's mother goes to this charity event, and the Tracksuit Mafia are there, and there's like an underground bidding on all of these like Avengers tech and stuff they found in like one of the abandoned Avengers, I guess strongholds or bases. And two of the items they're selling are Ronin's sword and Ronin's suit. And she just picks it up and puts it on, and basically becomes like a makeshift vigilante to take on the Tracksuit Mafia, and it gets her into trouble. So that's basically why Clint has to get involved, even though he promised his kids he'd be with them, especially his daughter Lila, that he would be with them for Christmas. He's having to spend his time in New York and send them home, because now he's got to figure out how to get this kid out of all this danger that she's put herself in, because they want to kill her because they think she's Ronin. And so that is funny to me. And then when there's this group, a cosplay group that Clint comes across, which I think is effing hilarious, because this is something that I think would really happen in real life. So he goes to Kate's apartment that the Tracksuit Mafia has set on fire. They just, basically they're trying to smoke her out, and she leaves the suit there. So he goes to try and get the suit, but somebody's already taken it. Now there's a lot of firemen in there. He was pretending to be a fireman. On one of the fire trucks, he conveniently sees an NYC LARPers sticker, which he later learns is a role-playing group. And they're in the park, and they're doing their reenactments. And so he literally has to be a part of the role-playing group. And that entire exchange is exactly how I think Hawkeye would talk, even in the comics. It's absolutely effing hilarious. He meets this guy named Grills, who is a firefighter. And he's like, "You got to let me stab you. This will make my night. You're a superhero. This is like the best day of my life." It is absolutely hysterical, that entire interaction, for him to get the suit back. And I love when after everything's said and done, and Grills is giving him back the Ronin suit, and he's like, Clint's like, "I need you to take this back to the front desk. I don't want this charge on my credit card." And M. Grills like, "Yeah, they'll charge you." I'm like, that is so, to me, that's like bringing such realism to this show, because I could hear that playing out in real life. So I did like that. There are moments like that I really liked. I'm always amazed by Clint's wife, because again, Clint's wife and kids are also an invention of the MCU. He was married to Mockingbird in the comics. That's his ex-wife. So he didn't have the kids, which is why Clint and Kate were so close. He was really like a drunken, hard of hearing, almost deaf at that point, father figure for her because her own dad was crap in the comics. They may still have kind of like this little relationship. You kind of see it when he first meets her, and he finds the cut on her head and he's like, you did it wrong. And he starts, patting her up and showing her how to stitch her wound up better. That's kind of like a fatherly, daughterly thing. But what loses it for me, honestly, is that Hawkeye already has a daughter. So he has Lila. So it's like Kate can't be like the person that you would sacrifice for and sacrifice everything for because you got a wife and 3 kids. I think MCU in a way messed up when he made him have a wife and have 3 kids. I mean, I know what they were doing. They were trying to get give him a valid reason for him to go crazy and become Ronin and go kill everybody because he lost his whole family in the snap and he just can't deal with it. And he decided to punish all the organized crime, which is really funny on the news when they're like the Ronin who terrorized the underground of organized crime. I'm like, they act like that's a bad thing, But no, I just feel like it takes away a lot from my, how I see Clint and Kate in the comics is as a father-daughter, type. She takes care of him when he's drunk and making bad life choices. And he takes care of her when she's, basically getting in over her head, which happens a lot, and trying to just bang some realism into her. Kate is also, I hate to say it, I love the girl, but she's a little promiscuous. She sleeps around a little bit. And I don't know if they're going to keep that with Kate. And one of the biggest things for me, and I think I said this a while ago, I'm not going to hate on an actor getting a role. So I'm cool with the girl they cast as America Chavez. The only problem that I have is we are not going to get that same experience of them being BFFs because there's no way that a 22-year-old, she's 22 in this right now, and a girl who's 14, I think in real life, or 15 maybe, are going to be able to banter about sex and banter about life and relationships and all of this stuff. Like they talk about their love lives and their sex lives and they pick on each other and they have like this whole pseudo Kate is really into America and is questioning her sexuality stuff. That we are basically eliminating all of that. And the reason I'm bringing that up is I have a fear that when we do meet, or America and Kate do meet, they're not going to have a bond. And I'm really hoping they're not going to take the queerness away from America because she is straight up lesbian. So MCU worries me. I'm just putting it out there, guys. It does worry me. And whenever I think about Clint and his family, I think about all the changes they make. And then MCU is its own universe with the same characters. It just makes me feel nervous. But so we have a lot of mysteries going on. Like I said, with the boyfriend, Jack, he's more than he seems. There's like these monogrammed butterscotch candies. They're like kind of Kate first sees them when she goes to the apartment of, I want to say that he's Jack's uncle, or I'm thinking uncle. I don't know. I don't know what the relationship. I'm assuming they're related. I wasn't paying attention enough to know what they actually called him, but she's snooping. Kate is snooping around trying to figure out, because she has a feeling something is up with Jack, which it is. The guy is just not a good guy. And so the whole time that she's at the event, she's following him, and that's how she gets into the underground auction to begin with. She's following Jack, and she learns from his uncle that that basically her mother's getting married to him. And I don't even think they've been together that long. So she just decided to get married to this guy. And so Armand III is the uncle's name. And he is talking crap about her mom. And then she sees her mom and him arguing. And she asked the mom, is he harassing you? And, it was like, the mother's like, I don't really know. And I'm like, what? So she just walks off. And I'm like, that's shady as hell. And that's how she ends up falling, basically getting into this whole mess. But Armand III gets killed. He gets stabbed with a sword, and there's these little butterscotch candies that have monograms on them. And later on, the mother has Kate and Jack, have dinner. They're all having dinner together. Jack cooks them dinner. And so, Kate's questioning him, and she's like, she doesn't trust him. She even tells the mother, Armand's dead, and, this guy is obsessed with swords, because there really are swords all over Kate's mother's house. Now, again, I don't want to spoil who the mother is. And no, it's not a vampire. That was just a West Coast Avengers thing. But I think Kate is barking up the wrong tree. Not really, because I know that he is shady as hell and he is doing things. So he is somebody's tree she should be barking at, but I think she's eliminating a tree. And I think when she finds out who the actual person calling the shots is, if they're doing this correctly, how I think they're doing it in my head, then her mama is the one that she really needs to be watching. Yeah, because I already know who she's supposed to be or who she is in the comics, and I need to see if that's the route they're going. I don't want to say it because again, if you have not followed the comics, then I am spoiling it, and I'm only trying to do a review for episodes 1 and 2. But yeah, I know who it is. Now, if somebody says it in the comments, I won't say anything, but it won't come from me. I'm being good here. But yeah, there's so much to the episode. Yeah, Dee Marie's like, totally, Maria, say it. I don't want to spoil it for people. Like, if it's, I mean, it may not even be right, but it could be. I mean, it could be because I mean, again, I know who she is in the comic book. She's actually affiliated with a group, and she's messed up, and I just kind of feel like how they're writing her is very sus to me. You said whisper it to me. I will tell you this. If you want to know who Eleanor is, look up Eleanor Bishop online under Marvel Wiki, and it'll tell you exactly who she's supposed to be. That way I'm not spoiling it, and you got it. Now, Haley, again, back to her, because I said they redid Kate's story. Haley in real life, which I think is really interesting, she is German, British, Filipino, and Black. So she's mixed as hell. And so they cast her as completely white. Like, I'm telling you guys, the irony of this conversation is funny because you can Google it. People were in their feelings. They're like, Haley Stanfield is not Asian enough to be, Kate Bishop. And then you come to find out that, she's actually super mixed. And the actual parents are the ones that are not Asian at all in the MCU. I just think it's so funny to me. I don't know why. This tickles me greatly. So that there's a lot of questions about. We know Yelena's making an appearance. We know that we're going to have a lot of characters that are going to be playing in. I think that some of them are going to be playing into Doctor Strange too. But I'm trying to figure out if this is going to end up being the retirement series, meaning Hawkeye is just going to pass on the mantle completely and say, I'm going to go live with my wife and kids. I'm out. And the reason I'm asking that is because honestly, in the comics, he could still be Hawkeye alongside Kate. And he did on many occasions because, he's with the Avengers and she's with the Young Avengers. And so it didn't conflict. They're just two Hawkeyes. In this universe, it'll be hard because, again, with his wife and kids, Clint has no reason to be an Avenger anymore. He has no reason to do anything. His best friend is dead. Tony sold, Avenger Tower. Like there's nothing for him, really. There's nothing. He can literally just pass it on and retire and be with his family. And I think that that's how they wrote it, which is kind of sad, for Jeremy in a way. Because I feel like there's more, roles he could have done and more that Hawkeye could have done. And it's pretty sad that we're just getting a solo series for Hawkeye, but we're really not. It's like we're getting a Pass the Torch series. So we didn't even get his solo series ever. We got like snippets, but we didn't get a solo Hawkeye film or a solo anything for Hawkeye. And the only time I do it is when he's getting ready to give it away to Kate. That's kind of messed up, actually. So I don't know. Like I said, this is a series that I like, but I'm not in love with yet, and I'm still on the fence in a way. Again, I don't dislike it. I have to see more. I need to see episode 3. But I really think it's interesting how much humor is in this without trying. Like I'm telling you, like the whole LARP thing was funny. In general, because I could totally see him doing that and being like, what the hell is happening right now? Like, I love what Clint was like, I fought Thanos and now I'm doing this. I think it's really funny to me. But I also feel like there's also something a lot bigger than the tracksuit mafia going on. So I'm curious. I don't know. I have theories. I have to wait and see though. I have a lot of theories on what's going to happen. Let's see here. Hello, Mercenary. How are you? The first 2 episodes were very good. I loved it. I really enjoyed it, though it may not totally follow the comics. This was very good. Yeah, it doesn't follow it at all. Like, there's really nothing. Like, even the stuff that's similar, they revamp. Like with the Tracksuit Mafia and Pizza Dog. I mean, that was literally Ivan's dog to begin with, and Clint pretty much bonded with it. The dog, he saved the dog. The dog ended up saving him, and then he just ended up taking the dog home. That was Pizza Dog. See, in the comics, Clint is kind of living a very interesting life. He is still, the whole thing with the hearing aid and losing his hearing, that is very true in the comics. But in the comics themselves, he lives in an apartment. He doesn't really clean. He eats, days old pizza. Sometimes Kate comes over and lectures him about being a bum and drinking all the time. Because he doesn't have a partner. He doesn't have a family. He just lives on his own. And so him and Kate bonding is very natural. Now he has absolutely no effing reason to bond with her in a way. I mean, they may bond in this series, but once he goes home to his family, she's on her own. And I think that's such a sad thing that they took that, by him having that family, it destroyed his connection to Kate. And by him having a connection to Kate, like if they still have that connection, it's not going to make sense, because then what about his own daughter? His own daughter won't be Hawkeye, even though we saw, him training her. It's a thing. So I don't know. It's all weird for me. It's really weird for me. Spoilers are good for me. I watch it no matter what. Good vibes. I mean, at Disney, so I am not surprised by changing her origin. True. But I mean, to be fair, they've been doing that since the first Avengers movie. Like the first Avengers movie, that was not who should have been not all of them should have been in the Avengers at that time. So it's a thing. And don't get me started on Winter Soldier, because Winter Soldier actually was an Avenger, and was getting it on with Black Widow all the time. Can't wait for the other episodes. I am excited. I didn't miss the stream. You did not, Kevin. How did Lucky end up looking like he does in the MCU content? I don't know. He definitely doesn't look like he does in the comics. Something else that I thought was interesting, and maybe it's just me. When did Kate have time to get a dog leash? Because I don't think the dog had a leash. And the dog looked kind of mangy. And then when he was running across the street, he looked very well groomed. So I'm really confused on the scene splits on that are very interesting continuity wise. But, the dog must be protected at all costs. Yes, absolutely. It's okay with the differences. Disney plus MCU did a good job. I mean, like I said, I'm not hating the show. I'm not 100% in love with it either. But it's actually, it's not slow pacing. It's just slow in terms of, we're getting a lot of exposition on 2 different people simultaneously. So to get to the actual plot where they actually have to figure shit out, it's probably going to be in episodes 3 or 4, more than likely. Because right now we're in the intro phase. So Hawkeye cosplayed himself pretty much. That whole scene was ridiculous. I'm glad they're keeping the running inquiry thing from the comic until what happened in Black Widow. True. Like I said, there's a lot. Like, he's really in his feelings about her. He has a lot of, you can see it on his face. He has a lot of trauma and grief still pending with his best friend. Even his wife's like, oh, homage to Nat, your best friend. So it's interesting. And I like Clint's wife. It's just that she doesn't exist in the comic series. So this is complete MCU. I'd love to know how they met. What was she an agent? I would love to know her backstory. I mean, that's the real thing that they should do. They should have had a movie about how he met his wife, how they got together, how they decided to have kids, even though he has a dangerous career. I mean, how did all of that come into play? I would love to know how they decided all this. And we don't get that. And it's sad. Yeah, that's what I thought. He cosplayed himself. Giving Clint a family movie was a mistake. I agree. We all know Jack is a bad guy. Absolutely. Absolutely. If people don't want to hear it, that's up to them. I know who Eleanor Bishop is. I follow the comics and such. So just say it already. Okay. For D. Marie, I will say what I think is going to happen with Eleanor in this series. So plug your ears if you don't want to hear it. So in the comics, she is presumed to be dead, but she actually is affiliated with the Masters of Evil. We see them a lot in West Coast. They have this thing called the Temple of the Shifting Sun, but that actually ties in with the vampire story. But who I really believe she's going to be is Madame Mask. And Madame Mask is a very interesting villain. She is very dangerous. She is very, and you could kind of see it. You can see the mother. You can see the mother in this. There's something more to her than what she's saying and what she's doing. And I think her and Jack are actually partners. And I think Kate is going to blow Kate's mind. I don't know why. I believe that she is partnered with Jack. But yeah, I'm 100% certain she's Madame Mask, just like the comics. And I'm interested to see how they pull that off, because I mean that's going to be the traumatic shift for Kate, because obviously the assault's not going to happen. Her dad being alive and basically treating her like garbage doesn't happen, because it's like polar opposite day. Her dad seemed to be the supportive one in this version, and it's her mother she seemed to have a little bit of, not really animosity, but you can see they don't see eye to eye because she's more like her dad in the MCU. So yeah, I'm very interested to see how this plays out. Clinton is going to pass the mantle to young Kate. Of course. Absolutely. Yeah, Hawkeye got screwed just like Black Widow. I mean, at least you got a movie, a lawsuit that gave her stuff, and now she's a producer for Marvel. So I think he got screwed a hell of a lot more than Black Widow did. Like, just saying. At least, you got a solo, even if she died. Yep. Dip your toe in the water, Maria. Come on over to the dark side. You're like that person that says, just another drink, one more. It won't hurt you. It was a power chord, I think. Lord, would you say that Kate Bishop is what Mia Queen should have? Yes. Kate Bishop, that's how I think Mia, which makes me so angry, because the actress, Catherine McPherson, I believe her name is, or no, McNamara, Kat McNamara, who plays Mia in Arrow, I always imagine would be like Haley Steinfeld. And they make her so angry in the Arrowverse. And it's so weird, because this is the same actress who played Clary in Shadowhunters. And that actually is closer to Haley Steinfeld. I mean, she can do it. I just don't know why they didn't have her. It's just really weird. It all comes down to directing and writing, guys. I've been saying this. It's always a director and writer's fault. Normally it starts in the writer's room, and the director just takes it and messes it up. So, or doesn't catch it when it is messed up, should I say. So yeah, that's a thing. Yeah, I'm just, like I said, there's a lot of mystery to this. I am super, super into what they're doing. I think I'm more excited to see what they do with this than I was to see the Eternals movie. And I saw the Eternals movie. And I didn't hate it. I just don't understand how it's connected to the MCU, because it doesn't feel like it should be at all. But that's a thing. That is a thing. Like father, like daughter, anger issue galore. Yep. Kingpin is rumored to appear in this show. Not only that, Vincent is teasing it, but the producer is teasing it. When asked if Kingpin has any role, she said revealing that will be a potential spoiler. It'd be cool if we had Matt Murdock, our Daredevil from the Netflix series, because if he's going to make an appearance in the Spider-Man movie, the new Spider-Man movie, Far From Home, then it would be really cool to have him make an appearance in this one, like they did with Madam Hydra, because they did that in, Falcon and Winter Soldier. So I don't know. I mean, like I said, I'm here for it. I don't have a problem with the casting choice. It's just the only thing is, Kate's neurotic in the comics, but she talks to herself, and she talks herself into and out of things, and she's always analyzing stuff. This Kate just banters on. She's really goofy, and it almost seems like she's socially inept. I don't know what it is. It's like she's like, oh yeah, like she keeps talking, and it's like it's so funny to me. 1 minute she's very confident when she's telling Jack what a piece of shit she thinks he is, but then when she's talking to other people, it's like completely different person. So I don't know. I don't know if that's an intentional choice, but I mean, again, I don't hate it. I just think it's interesting, because that's not the Kate that I'm used to. Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to see if there's anyone else. I'm looking at the cast and crew right now for Hawkeye, so I can see who else is in it. We know Maya Lopez is definitely in it. Let's see. Okay, Laura Barton. So that's definitely the wife, Clint. I know Yelena's coming. William Lopez is definitely in it. Well, see, the problem that I'm having is it's not telling me. Like, I know Yelena was already announced, so we knew she was in it. But yeah, if Kingpin is in it, it's not telling us who she is, and that's a little problematic for me. So, only because I'm trying to suss out exactly what is happening. Like what's going to happen, should I say? Because right now, as it stands, it's not really telling me anything. So that's a thing. I know that we're going to see Armand. I believe it's the 7th. I'm like, how many Armands are in this? I'm like, so that's going to be a thing. I wonder if Girls is going to be a reoccurring character as well, because I saw in here it says 6 episodes. But to be clear, there was one character, and I cannot remember their name, that was in Falcon and Winter Soldier, and it said that she was in all the episodes, and she was only like in 2 and IMDb. So I don't trust IMDb 100% with that until it actually plays. So yeah, but from where it looks like, how it stands, it looks like Grills is literally going to be in all 6 episodes. So that's interesting, which I guess makes sense because Clint told him to call him Clint. And he's like, my name is Grills. And he's like, nice to meet you, Grills. So maybe there's another reason they have to come across him. And Grills, I believe, is the firefighter. So because everybody in the role-playing group are firefighters and cops. So that is the thing. So I'm really interested to see what Girl's role is in this. Let's see. And then we have Kazi, of course. I don't know. There's a lot to speculate on this. There is a lot to speculate, which I like doing. Again, my big thing is I really enjoyed the first 2 episodes. Even if it does kind of like deviate from the original comic, I'm okay with it. It's just very interesting. I just want to know if Mama is Madame Mask, and I just want to know, is the end game something with Madame Mask and Jack working together? Is she working, alone? Is she Jack's boss? I don't know. All I do know is that the uncle seemed very irritated by the mother, to the point where he didn't want Jack to marry her. He's like, I'm losing my patience with her. So that's not something. I don't know why an uncle would be so like upset with your nephew's future wife if she has nothing to do with your business or your life. So something is going on with the mom and Jack that the uncle knew about, was in on, and apparently lost his life because of. And the monogrammed butterscotch was interesting because that's how Kate realized that, Jack is involved in potentially killing him, because he had the damn candy in his hand and he offered her one, which is kind of really, that was his slick way of saying, because when they were fencing together, he was holding back until she tried to stab him. He actually parried it. And then he offered her a butterscotch. She's like, mother F, I gotta go. You're a killer. So I'm really curious to see how they play that one out. The Eternals should have been another Disney Plus series. I agree with that. It probably would have been better as a series, actually. This will a good segue into the upcoming later episodes. Absolutely. I don't know. This, like I said, I'm really curious. I wish we got some more Young Avengers, like before they're Young Avengers, like cameos. That would be very cool. That would be extremely cool. I know we can't do that with the twins with Speed and Warlock yet, but there are other people that could just pop in and out. And so I'm really curious to see if that, and the MCU, well, to be fair, that they can do that. There's a lot of Marvel characters to pull from, but I'm hoping that they don't create like original Young Avengers that aren't in the comics, because that'll be a shame for me. Like if girls just all, came out to be, their version, of Warlock or Phase or any of them, that would be really weird. That would be weird for me. But again, MCU is doing its own thing, so I don't know. I don't know how this is going to play out, honestly. I'm excited though. I'm extremely excited for it. Now I just got to figure out in episodes 3. I think this is the only time we're getting 2. So the next one is going to be on Wednesday. It's going to be episode 3. I just need to figure out 6 episode run. At what point do we say it's the medium peak of the show? Because normally, like we have 6 episodes, so somewhere between 3 and 4, all the really bad shit has to happen. So 5 and 6 are the kind of like the after effects of all of it. So normally I always say the episode 4 is probably, I think 4 is probably going to be the one that's the catalyst for all the bad stuff. So we get the first 3, then we get episode 4, then we get the last 2. I think episode 4 will be the one to really watch and pay really big attention to, because I think all the stuff that's going on is probably going to happen in episode 4. So I am excited. I wish the episodes were a little longer, like maybe 12 episodes or even 10 episodes, 6 episodes. That's kind of sad that Hawkeye only got 6 episodes in this series. But I guess Disney was like, we're not paying for more. We're not going to pay for more of that. Nope. Which is stupid, because really, if you think about it, if they're not using his high-tech, arrows, it's archery and fight scenes. It's probably one of the cheapest ones you could do, but whatevs. So yeah. It's in a nutshell. That's all I got. That's all I got, guys. All I got. If you didn't know, Echo is getting a show. I did hear that Echo is getting one, so that is very cool. And I think did they announce that? Somebody told me that on Instagram. I'm going to be checking all of the news feeds later today, because I think they're going to be announcing a lot more. There's going to be a lot of shows. Like I said, I am still stuck in Arcane, guys. Arcane is probably one of the best things I've watched this year. And I know that's saying a lot, but Arcane is literally one of the best shows I've watched this year. And I am super excited for season 2. And I'm just in my feelings, because once you watch a good show, like a really, really good show that's engaging and good in every way, and all the characters are engaging, it is really hard when that show goes away, because then it's like, oh, I'm not gonna watch this. Like, that's how I feel watching Arcane and then watching the Arrowverse, and I'm like, oh, why? So that's a thing. Echo and Moon Knight and She-Hulk were announced on Disney Day. Yeah, I knew She-Hulk was definitely already coming. I'm super excited about She-Hulk as well. Moon Knight is cool. I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to be as engaged. I don't dislike Moon Knight. I'm just not the biggest Moon Knight fan. So it's a thing. But I mean, I'm sure it's going to be entertaining, but I'm more excited for She-Hulk, honestly. I was waiting for Hawkeye because I love Kate Bishop, and I'm waiting for She-Hulk because I love She-Hulk and she's hilarious. She's effing hilarious. So yeah, those are gonna be cool. So we'll be on this channel. I'm gonna have all of the reviews for all of the MCU shows. So I made a point of making sure if I'm gonna do Arrowverse, I'm gonna do all the MCU shows and try my best to do all of the MCU movies, except for I could not bring myself to watch Black Widow. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I did have Joe do a little overview for me, but I just can't. I can't watch it, so I just not a fan. But it is what it is. And then Wakanda Forever, I'm super excited about too. So there's that. I really hate that they left this on a cliffhanger for Arcane, because that shark cannon was. I know, Lord. Well. My daughter, when we did our review, made it some valid points that some of the people that are in that room are not dead in the League of Legends game. And since this is considered a prequel to that game, then there's a lot of people that have main character insurance. So if you're alive in League of Legends, you are not dying in that room. That's that. Unless they decide to go a whole nother alternate reality, they safe. And just to go off canon for a minute from Hawkeye, Mel had that whatever that stuff was on her back, whatever this tech or whatever that started glowing gold, could have made a force field in that room. I don't know. We'll see. We will see. But we know Jace is not dead because he's in all the League of Legends games. He's in the one coming up now. And this is after everything with Caitlyn and V before they become partners in the game and all that stuff. So yeah. I feel like this is not Vi. This is her backstory. This is the story that confirms that her and Jinx are sisters. This is the story that tells all the players for all the years have been playing with this champion why she's partnered with Caitlyn. All of this stuff is being answered for players of the game. We're just getting the benefit of it because it's a kick-ass show. That's basically it. Because I don't play the game. I might play the fighting game because I like fighting games. I'm a Capcom girl, and I love playing games like Mortal Kombat, Killer Instinct, and things like that. Back in the day, arcade girl, that was my thing. I'm aging myself. But I will play a fighting game. I can't sit I can't do MMO. They just drive me nuts. I can't have trolls in my life. I just can't. I'll stop that game. Like the whole game will burn down. Then be like, what happened to the game? Gone. The server wiped out. But yeah, so back to Hawkeye though, guys. Like I said, I'm very excited, and like I said, be on the lookout of the mother. The only question that I have, besides how did Pizza Dog get that leash? Because I don't know how she got a leash that fast. She didn't have a pet, so why would she have a leash? It's really interesting. But also the whole thing with the mother in general, like, is she supposed to be Asian? Is she not supposed to be Asian? Because there is only one run I've seen where she was Asian, and that was in West Coast Avengers, and that was the episode or series where America Chavez gets drained by vampires, and the mother turns out to be a vampire, and Kate's helping her, and her mother was Asian. And so Eleanor was Asian in the West Coast, and ambiguous and not really identified in all other comics. She went from having blue eyes to black eyes. And that's the problem with comic books, is that they draw you a certain way, or they make you a certain way, so people can interpret it any way they want. Like, I'm ambiguous as hell, so people normally don't know what mix I am. I know I'm a minority. They don't know what I am. So she had that same problem in the comics. So we don't really know, but I felt so bad for Haley, because Haley got so much shit for taking this role, and people are like, you're not even Asian. And she actually is part Filipino, but she's also part black. And nobody's saying anything about that. She ain't getting credit for any of this shit. So, and then her two parents are white. So I'm like, good job, MCU. Proud of you. Casting is great on this, guys. But yeah, I need to see. I really need to know. I want people to actually tell me if you are also fellow Kate Bishop fans, because I just don't recall. Was her mother Asian outside of the little mini series in West Coast Avengers? Do you remember any time they referenced that? And then on top of that, with Kate and the whole Pizza Dog scenario, because like, it's just so weird to me. Because Pizza Dog is Clint's dog. I'm like, it's not his dog. It's so weird that it's not his dog. Because it's his dog that he stole from Ivan, or he took from Ivan. If he goes back home, will Pizza Dog go with him to the family? Is that going to be their family's dog? Or is he going to stay with Kate? Because Kate doesn't keep Pizza Dog. She just goes over and takes care of him sometimes when Clint's too drunk to feed him. So yeah, just questions. I got questions, guys. There's a lot of deviant, they're deviating a lot from the comic series. So just want to know what you think about that, because those are valid questions that I have questions about that I probably won't get answered anytime soon. So throwing it out there. All right. So that is it. We're at 42 minutes, guys. You guys have been awesome. I'm going to go finish some work and turn these lights off, because I have a sinus headache and they're killing me right now. But again, if you want to keep this conversation going, you got any theories on what's going to happen in the next episode and the rest of this series, let me know, especially since, if Kingpin comes, what's his involvement in this with Hawkeye. So let me know what you think. Also, if it is day for you, have a very good day. If it's evening for you, have a very good evening. And I will see you in our next video and stream.